Welcome to the Oh You Want to Go There podcast, where we go deep into exploration of our stories as a catalyst for healing and transformation. I'm Jasmine, holistic therapist, breath and sound healing guide, and founder of Versed Wellness, a digital storytelling platform that centers the stories and holistic well-being for Black women and girls.
Melissa Wainwright. I am a transformational coach and creator of Created Me, all things creative.
All things creative. So we're back for episode 2.
Yes.
Episode 2. So tell me how you feeling, girl.
I'm feeling exceptional. I'm feeling good.
You feel exceptional?
I do.
Amazing.
How you feel?
I feel aligned.
Okay.
I feel aligned. I feel like we are doing exactly what we were called or positioned to do.
Okay.
I feel like this is one of the first times that I had an idea and we moved it into tangible practice, like pretty quickly. Like we were talking about this in January and we're like doing the prep work and like we're here. So I feel aligned and that's all I strive for is alignment.
I love it. Yeah.
I love it.
That feels good.
Yes.
It feels good.
Yes. And so
actually in October of 2011.
Not the date.
I remember while we were out, October of 2011, I was at a conference. And actually, I was vending at this conference, but I was also there participating, right? And I remember one of the speakers that was there was a women's conference. And I don't remember the topic of it at all, but I remember there was a minister and her daughter that was there together, and they were, part of the conference. And they finished speaking, and it was wonderful. It was a really good time, and it was absolutely phenomenal. And I remember her coming up to me, the mother, and saying, one day you and your daughter will do ministry together.
How did she even know you had a daughter? Did you tell her you had a daughter?
And I was like, because I told her, I said, oh, it's so wonderful to see a mother and daughter do a ministry together. And honestly, you could just see the genuine. It wasn't forced. It wasn't fixed. It was just purely genuine.
Yes.
And she asked me, she said, yeah. She said, she didn't even ask me about her daughter. She said, one day you and your daughter's going to do ministry together. And I was like, She was like, no, really. She said, God has shown me one day you and your daughter will be in ministry together. And I was like, well, I actually have 2 daughters. And she was like, yeah. She said, just trust me.
You know what's interesting? My knee-jerk response when people try to come and put a word in your life is like...
I know, right? Sometimes.
Because you just can't be accepting words from anybody. But occasionally, there's a person who comes along and they speak something over your life and it just hits. And I think that is, you've told me that before, but I'm just like, okay.
Because that was my response too. I can't say that in that moment when she spoke it, that I believed it.
But here we are.
And I was just like, oh, okay, because it was at a, not so great time. 2011. Yeah. So
yeah.
It wasn't a great time in life.
2011, was that the divorce? Yeah.
It was the marriage.
Yeah, the divorce was the blessing. I'm like, not so great, girl. We had a time.
No.
We was getting free.
Yes, but I'm just saying that's like, that month was kind of like right after me finding out everything.
Oh, 2011, the second divorce.
Yes. Shade.
No, I wasn't trying to be shady. My mind was going to
the first.
Yeah, first divorce.
The second one.
Okay, got you. Yeah, no, I understood.
Yes.
Heard you. I think what's so beautiful, about this moment and even about that word, and you even naming how that was such a tumultuous time. It's like we are taking all of our experiences, all of our pain, and alchemizing it and turning it into something beautiful, something nourishing, something that can be incredibly healing for ourselves, because it's very cathartic to mull over our stories and to talk about it in a way and to view it from different angles, but also just knowing that so many people don't oftentimes have the opportunity to be able to have these conversations in a way that could, I don't know, like assuage a part of them that needs validation. And we're going to get into that a little bit more today in today's episode. It's very much so aligned with the theme, but
Absolutely.
I do love how we are taking all the wounds that we've accumulated throughout our journey of being mother and daughter.
Yeah.
And being you, a mother and a daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to not be, I don't know, like bogged down by it. Like we've been working to transmute it and evolve and expand. And I don't know. It's just something really, really, really nice about that.
I love being able to sit in it,
Mm-hmm.
understand it, and laugh at it.
Girl, we love a key. Yeah, you will realize that it's not that we're unserious.
We're serious.
We're very serious, but we laugh a lot at the shenanigans because it's like, what was even the reason? Honestly, it'd be like, what was even the? It's just
was not necessary.
Some of these stories that you'll hear, you're gonna be like, what? Like we've lived a lot of lifetimes in this one, particularly you more so than me. Girl, you got some things on me, but like we lived a lot of life in this little bit of time, and yeah, and even sitting in that reflection, it just brings me back to like another level of reflection that I've been doing lately, which is like aging,
right?
Because I'm getting older.
You're getting better.
I'm getting better.
Yes.
I'll be turning 35 soon, and I'm just like, what is time? Like, how did I get there? How did I get there?
I'm still looking like, how do we get here? I'm looking at you. I'm looking at Brooke. I just told her the other day, I was like, girl, you about to be 28.
Yes.
She said, thanks very much. I'm like, no, but for real.
It's a blessing.
It is. I mean, I literally remember having her and thinking, dang, I have more years behind me than I had in front of me. Like you graduated 3 whole times before she graduated.
You said that, and that's really, so I graduated high school, college, and grad school before she graduated high school. Wow. That 8 years.
It's a lot. That doesn't seem like a lot, but
it's a lot.
Just put it in perspective.
It definitely is a lot. I think one of the things with aging that has been coming up for me is how I still very much feel like childlike Jasmine. Yeah, like little Jasmine. I still very much feel connected to little Jasmine. I feel like there were little quirks about me that are still very present. Like I very much so am in my childlike energy. And one of the things that I was thinking about was just like processing, like I'm just a big kid, honestly. Like
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. Is that if you live this life right, and what I mean by right is if you are living in your authentic truth, you are standing on your purpose, you are striving for alignment, like you are defining yourself for yourself, then there should still be some semblances of that little version of you. And I'm talking about the version of you that was free to dream, free to explore, free to be, who wasn't concerned how people viewed them, who just found joy in the mundane. Like that, I've been getting back to that. Like I have so much joy in just being
free
and just looking at the clouds and looking at the trees and stargazing and just like things that I really enjoyed doing as a kid, just like being so present in the moment. And the ways in which we lose that as we get older, because life be life.
Because life be life, and responsibilities be responsibility, and adulting be adulting.
Adulting be adulting. And so it's so easy for that part to get lost. But I think the older we get, I'm realizing our life journey is just to find our way back to that younger version of us that somehow already knew. Like I've been seeing like a lot of videos and just like reading about how like children are closer to like the other side, the spiritual realm. Like the older we get, the further away that we get from that. And so they come oftentimes with such profound wisdom and just like an understanding of just the right way to live life before we've been like indoctrinated and socialized to live with them.
That's it. Before we became indoctrinated
and socialized.
Yes. And all the ideas of someone else, or thought processes or beliefs
placed on us. Yes, we're placed on us. But children are closer to the spiritual realm. And I remember like being a kid and just the things that I would say, like I remember like sometime like my dad would be like, this girl, like and I overheard him talking to someone before. He was like, yeah, that Jasmine. And I didn't know what that mean. I'm like, Daddy, I had a dream. And I would dream a lot as a child. And honestly, I dream a lot now. We both dream. Like we are dreamers.
We are dreamers.
And the dreams be dreaming and they be coming to pass in real time. But I remember like sharing my dreams with him and he would just be looking at me like, what? Like, how do you know that? Where'd you get that from? And so, yeah, the kids know. I say all that to say the kids know.
Divine download.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, yeah, as we get older, just making our way back to that childlike version of us. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious to know, because I see you through the lens of my mother, and I know we've been sharing stories, and so I do have different vantage points of you, but what were you like as a kid?
I mean, as a kid, I think I was like any other kid. We played a lot. You know, I was outside. I rode my bike. We were going to the Dairy Queen and to the corner store.
Queen. Get
the nickel candy and the penny candy. And we played. I learned how to roller skate in the street. Playing tag, playing football. I was a tomboy.
Honestly. That's so surprising to me because you're like the bling queen. Look at this. Look at what.
Right.
You do the most.
Right.
Always, and I love that.
And I won't lie. That was not who I was. In the past, we was climbing trees and jumping off garages. I told myself up jumping off the top of a garage on a bed. Walk up the big old tree, watch the limb, get on top of somebody's garage and jump down.
Yeah. You did it?
I did, because everybody else was doing it, and I was like, I can't be no punk about it. So here I am. Down I go. We did some of the stupidest stuff, picking fruit off of people's trees, running through their yards, not supposed to.
No, but you know what it sounds like? It sounds like joy. It sounds like freedom.
I mean, it was. Not being able to, drinking water out the hose. The side of the house. Yeah. You didn't go in the house. You went loud. You went in for a bathroom break and lunch and back outside until the street lights came on.
That was really back outside.
That was outside.
That was outside. Now we say we outside in a different kind of way. I'm like, I'm outside.
Yeah, because our outside, we was literally needing to stay outside.
And be in nature.
And be in nature.
And make your own
fun. And then you came in and you was told that you smell like outside.
Yeah. And go get in the tub.
And go get in the tub. Yep. Absolutely.
And go get in the tub.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I wasn't an outside girly.
No, you weren't.
You know what's wild to me is that you had the most
difference.
You had the most outside adventures, and let's get into indoctrination. She didn't let me go outside as a kid. She used to dress me in like pretty clothes and say, "You don't really want to go outside, right? Because it's dirty." I'm like, "Outside's dirty. I don't want to go outside." And then
that's the truth.
No, seriously. I remember I didn't really play outside.
She did not play outside.
And then when I got a little bit older, my fear outside transitioned. I remember being afraid to go outside because I was afraid of being kidnapped. Did I ever tell you that?
No. Whoever told you was going to be kidnapped if you was outside?
No. So the mail, those little cards would come in the mail, like, have you seen them?
Okay.
And we would get cards every day in the mail, and I was making a correlation, like, if you go outside,
somebody's going to take you.
Somebody's going to take you. And so I would literally stand in front of the screen door and watch kids play, and like, I kind of want to go out there.
But you've seen those kids come back every day.
My stepmother, Judy, shout out to Judy. Judy, I love you. She was like, girl, ain't nobody going to take you. And if they take you, they're going to bring you back. I said, they're going to bring me back? So I wasn't having as much fun outside. I think I was more so in my head. I was imaginative.
Well, it didn't help that I told you that it was dirty, and then
I was gonna mess up my pretty clothes.
Kids coming on the card. And,
it was a lot.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
it was a lot. But I did. You were my baby doll, so you did dress cute, and I mean, then when I did try to get you to go outside, you were like, no.
I didn't want to do that. It was too late.
I was like, well, let's go ride your bike. No.
Past the window of opportunity.
Yeah.
Whenever someone asks me, like, so what did you do growing up? Did you play sports? I'm like, no, I read books. I didn't
And
do
it's
any.
okay.
No, I know, but I do feel like just hearing you talk about like the ways in which you and your sisters were outside having just some.
Yeah, like
I'm learning to do that now.
We rode our bikes. We would park them in the front yard. Then they get stole. Daddy would buy us new ones. And then when we weren't just in our neighborhood playing, we were out in the country to where my grandparents were, where my dad had a garden, and we would be out there weekends, you know, running, picking
real country stuff.
Real country, the corn, with the chickens, getting the eggs, you know, with the cows in the field. We did all the things.
What about girlhood? What was that like for you? I mean, we kind of touched on a little bit of it.
Yeah,
I imagine.
Well, girlhood was a bit different. You know, by that time, you know, by the time I got into girlhood, which would say, well, 10 and up, it's
like early adolescence, I would say 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, by that time, you know, mom and dad was divorced by that time, and life has changed. So, you know, we were a little bit different. So we were outside a lot more, but, you know, in a different kind of way with neighborhood friends. And growing up, our friends were our church friends or cousins. That was our friends.
Okay.
First of all, there was 5 of us.
Okay, so you already had friends, built-in besties.
Built-in besties. It was like, we don't need too many more. Okay? However, mom and dad was very community. So anybody needed food, they would take in people. That. So our house, we didn't go a lot of places, but a lot of people came to us.
I love that.
So, you know, the teenagers, dad was always, you know,
now they do have all these extra kids to this day who they call her mom.
Felicia, Sean, you never got to meet. Well, you did, but not really because you were too young to remember her before she passed on. So there was just always community and always different ones that came in. And you may even remember Mia living with us for a time, but you were a baby still. So yeah, there was lots of community.
People in and out of the house.
In and out at different times that needed help. Although we weren't like rich or by any means necessary, you know, they were willing to try and help the next little kid, you know, survive.
I love that. I feel like girlhood for me, girlhood was a wild time for me.
Talk about it.
Girlhood was a wild time for a number of reasons. One, I've always been kind of shy.
Always.
You've always had to push me a little bit to outside of my comfort zone. When I lived in Youngstown, it showed up less because I had sisters and cousins. And similar to you, we spent all of our time together. Like our family unit was really, really strong. But when I moved to Columbus, later down the line, it was like starting from scratch. And I felt very, very isolated. Very isolated.
Which is weird because you became very popular very fast.
Did I?
You did.
I don't know if I did.
You did.
I mean, maybe people liked me.
You did.
But you know what's wild is like, I just was kind to everybody. Like I was just kind to everybody, but I didn't look at it like through that lens necessarily. But I was really shy, but I was a vibe at the same time. And so when people caught on that I was a vibe, they'd be like, oh, you cool. Like, we like you. We rock with you. But I still feel very isolated. I feel like I spent a lot of time in my bedroom. You used to always come in and, Jasmine, what you doing in that bedroom? And just like, girl, just trying to figure out this life. Trying to be a teenager. Trying to just understand
all the successful.
Trying to craft a master plan. But I think a lot of the work that I do today.
I just wanted to make sure you weren't up there making no bombs or anything, because teenagers be sometimes teenaging.
Mom.
No, I wanted to make sure.
But why would you think I would be making a bomb? Look, so let's talk about it though. Because why would you think I would be making a bomb? Because what was the conditions? What was the conditions we were living in? Because it's quite possible that.
I mean, I get it.
I could have been devising a master plan.
Yeah, so I needed to be checking, like make sure that you wasn't up
there.
That
mean you knew your husband wasn't right.
There's no lie detector.
Okay, cool. And so, we'll touch on that.
Yes.
But yeah, I think in that same vein though, like I think a lot of the work that I do now for young girls, Black girls, adolescent girls, come out of that space. Like when I introduce myself, usually I do all the titles. I say, I'm Black girl enthusiast. Like what brings me so much joy is creating space for them to be connected, protected, supported, seen, loved, vulnerable, held with care, like all the things, whatever they need in that moment. Like I want young girls to be able to look at me as a safe person, as a safe space. Because I remember like being a young girl and searching for safety, like in people.
Wow.
like searching for safety. I would meet someone and I would like do like an internal scan, and I would like sit with them and just not sit with them, but just kind of observe them and watch and make a quick assessment. Like, are they safe? Because I really wanted someone to talk to. I really wanted someone to just like hear me, download, and just like also validate a lot of my experiences, because girlhood can be a very confusing time. It's really tough.
It's a confusing time.
So in me searching for safety, I feel that I was always I didn't always find it. There were people who I found safety in, but very compartmentalized. I would share certain things with. But yeah, so now like I want to be that. If a girl is in a similar predicament and she's looking for someone to feel safe with and to download on, and just to I make sure that I show up in a way where my energy is open and warm and kind. For that reason, I want you to know that I'm a safe space. Absolutely. I want you to know that love lives here, understanding lives here, care lives here, all of that.
And that's funny that you say that, because I honestly feel like one of my calls is to young women. To be a safe
I never
space.
Knew that.
Yes. And
well, you have been that. Oh my God.
I just feel like that was one of my calls, to be a safe space for young women, coming into their own, that's not like the average person, that's a little bit awkward or, have normal life trials and tribulations. But for some reason, I was really able to be compassionate and understand and not judgy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I feel like you had enough lived experiences to
not judge, but to help in a way and to offer substance that would guide and give and sustain at the same time.
What's stopping you? Are we doing it now? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, we're doing it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
You getting in alignment?
Yeah, we're doing it now. And no, I feel like I've done it.
You have.
Over and over and over again in different capacities.
I feel like you was collecting people too. Everybody always think, and also I'll put my friends off on you whenever they go through stuff. I'm like, call my mama, she know.
And Brooke does the exact same thing right now, like to this day. And you know what? I don't mind that, because I honestly wanted somebody to be able to have that same thing with. Like, as a girl, you understand that I may not be everything for my children, but I would pray to God that my children had a me.
Oh, I understand.
Go to.
I get you. Yeah.
And
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Although they wouldn't be able to come to me, if that was the case, that there was a safe space, like you said, that wouldn't violate that space or that trust.
Yeah.
And have somebody to go to.
Did you have a safe space growing up? Was there a safe person or place that you felt like seen you, heard you, supported you?
You know, the first safe space that we did talk about was she was my elementary secretary at the second elementary school that I ended up being pushed into, Miss Shakur. And she took to me and like a fish out of water. I mean, she took to me and I took to her. And she just was so amazing to me. Like, I looked up to her, like black girl excellence, like type deal now. But she was just so everything to me, and she was matter of fact, and she took me on, and she just let me work in an office and do different things, and she heard me.
She heard you.
She did. She heard me. And then when I went on to junior high, high school, she moved schools and had come over.
She moved schools for you, or that was already?
No,
okay.
I'm sure it was in the plan already, but it felt like so divine.
It felt like it was for you. It was divine. It was for you.
It felt like it felt like divine, right?
Yeah.
So when she was in those spaces, it was a kindred spirit.
Aww.
It was such a familiarity from someone that knew me.
Yeah.
The little me.
Yes.
The raw me.
And was able to see you as you evolved into a different iteration of self.
Absolutely.
I love that. Similarly, so when I did move to Columbus, I had a teacher. I had a couple of teachers I took likings to, but I had a teacher in the 8th grade. His name was Mr. Dobbins. And I mean, he literally was everyone.
Shout out to Mr. Dobbins.
Everyone loved Mr. Dobbins, but Mr. Dobbins saw me. Saw me. It or at least he made me feel like he saw me. Even so much so, I remember like just being obsessed with B2K and be like, I would do anything to marry a Mariana. And he was like, you wouldn't do anything to, you are the prize. Like, he was reminding me, and I was like, what? Like, and so just having like this man who was just so caring and loving, and he spoke so much life. He actually introduced me to the concept of generational blessings. We were talking about, he would, we be having like Bible study or just
I love it.
African study. He would be teaching us all type of things. And he was talking about like generational curses. And he was like, but there's also a thing called generational blessings. And it's possible you have generational blessings in your life. And I didn't even know what that meant. But I said, I actually want to receive that. Like,
yes.
In the spirit of speaking a word over your life, I was like, I actually want to see that. And so I began to kind of, even from an 8th grade perspective, kind of move to the lens of like,
I never know that. That's
nice.
I
held that for so long. I was like, okay, I could rock with a generational blessing. I don't know what that is, but like that feels good to me. And so he was my safe space. But I think outside of him, and that was a really interesting time too, when that was God, because that was my 2nd year in Columbus. Mm-hmm. I mean, that ain't this episode, child, but it's touching on it. Like the home environment.
It was toxic.
It was really volatile. Toxic is a good word, but volatile is an even better word to me.
It was volatile toxicity.
It was volatile toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
It felt, you know how when you're a kid, you play the little game, like don't hop on the lava. Like you got like don't miss a step because then you're gonna hop on. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Kids make a different type of childhood.
Don't step on a crack, you break your mama back.
Like, mm-hmm. But it felt like one wrong move, and there was going to be
an explosion would happen.
An explosion would happen. He was emotionally explosive, and that was a very different environment than I was used to growing up in at my father's house. My dad is a very like calm, grounded man. I mean, he's grumpy sometimes, but like he was playful. He played with us. He, you know, he loved family. He loved traditions. He was just like he was and is still to this day a stand-up family guy. And so moving to Columbus and being in a home environment, that just felt like completely opposite of that. Now, obviously, like you were full of love and you were a safe space for me, but energy, it draws you either way, right? And it's just like, no matter how much love and positivity you try to infuse in that space, his energy was all consuming and it sucked literally the life out of us. And so I am so grateful for Mr. Dobbins because I felt like he would fuel me up and prepare me to be able to go back home and fight the good fight, which was
just to exist another day.
Just to exist another day. And so
without being in the line of fire.
Mm-hmm. And so So today, if you're not able to like tell already, we're going to be talking a lot about just like loving on your the little you, the little version of you, the inner child, creating safe space for that inner child. And so I talked a lot about how my early girlhood experiences influence the work that I do now. Mm-hmm. But then I was thinking like, wow, I've been doing this work for a really long time.
A really long time. So this like started. So when you came to Columbus, you came going into the 7th grade.
Yes.
So you're what's that age?
I think 12.
12? Mm-hmm. Like that's like age 12, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you came at that time, going into that group. So my life was established here, and you came here holidays and vacations and different things like that. And you knew
summer, spring breaks.
And you knew some of the people that I knew. Mm-hmm. But once Brooke had started going to daycare, and we got Miss Monique, shout out to Little Angels and Miss Monique.
Yeah, they took really good care of us.
A shout out to them because they
shout out to community and people standing in the gap.
Shout out to community.
Yeah.
Like community is so big.
It's important.
Got to get back to it. And I just really feel like that's a lot that's missing
today. That sense of community.
Yeah. But anyways, they took to you like, again, a fish out of water, and you became that kind of anchor for the daycare.
I was in there raising them kids.
And outside of the daycare, when adults didn't want to adult anymore, we would pull on you.
Y'all had me with everybody's kids.
We trusted you.
Y'all trusted me.
We trusted you.
It would be me and like 10 kids and babies in diapers, and I would be cooking meals. Okay. And I'm talking, I had to be like 14.
Yeah.
I was really young.
Yeah.
But I always was getting to the bag though. They paid me really, really good.
They took care of you.
And that's one thing I never played about was my money, my coin. I was a kid who had a wad of cash in the closet for a rainy day. If you needed something, I was able to
she was able to pull it out.
To slide you something.
Several times.
Because I did not play about my money.
Several times. The light stayed on because it was your money.
Oh. Not the light stayed on because it was my money. Girl.
Just saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
True stories, though. But no, she was that intentional with the kids, but you loved it. It's like you didn't feel like we were using you. And again,
because I got paid real good.
She did get paid, but she was so excellent with the kids. And this is the funny part. They respected you.
They did.
They respected the heck out of you.
They did.
Like, they listened to you. They followed your direction. They ate the food you made.
They did.
They did the things that you told them to do. They cleaned up.
They did not give me a hard time.
They did not give you a hard time.
And then I think later that translated into me, what is the word? Like honing in on my expertise, and they became like the girls. Church, but also one summer I ran a summer camp. A really bootleg summer camp.
Shout out to the parents that trusted me and trusted my child to run this summer camp.
Yeah, I ran this really bootleg summer camp. Really because I wanted to buy a flat iron and I wanted to buy the chi. Now, the girls who get it, get it. The girls who know about the chi was like the hottest flat iron to hit the market. And it was just really expensive. And I was just like, I got to make some money. And I was working at the time. And so I had all these kids in the house for summer break doing bootleg summer activities in my Grand Dam that they had no AC. The windows didn't even roll down.
I don't remember the windows not rolling down.
The back, no.
I don't remember.
No, Mom, let me tell you. I still hear the kids in the backseat like, it's hot in here. We can't breathe. Which is a safety concern.
Which was a safety concern.
And I'd be like, we only going around the corner, y'all. Just hang tight. And they were just,
Asia, God, my
I know. I mean, those kids, listen, they knew how my car was giving it up. It was a hoopty. And so I had these kids all around Columbus, Ohio, just doing activities with them and showing them love and just reminding them of who they were. And yeah, and I think it did something for me. It kind of filled a void that just this need for just like emotional like safety.
And guys, when I say that she had a whole summer camp, it was bootleg because first of all, she got paid all the money and I supplied all of everything else.
You bought the food. I bought food one time. I was like, oh, this is expensive.
Right.
I had to get to the flat iron. I was like, this overhead cost is too much. So I use your food and your groceries.
She used my food. I'm grocery shopping at the Sam's for her daycare to supply her food, which I could have just bought the chi. However, that was she wanted to get from the bag.
I learned
to get this, but it also did something for the girls. Like she had her little sister, and it was like maybe 5 or 6 girls, right? So
in rotation.
It was on rotation, and my portion of the fee was buying the food and some of the toys that activities. Because
you bought all the stuff.
The bootleg slide.
Yeah, you bought everything. Girl, we're not even gonna talk about that bootleg slip and slide.
So that bootleg slide, that was terrible.
Slip, that was tearing up everybody's legs because it was just trash bags with Dawn soap.
She really did go after community with them. And I mean, not just sit in the house. Like, she would sit down and plan a weekly agenda.
Yeah.
And make sure the parents had it. Make sure we had permission slips.
Girl, I've been doing this youth development work. That's what you're saying.
I told you,
I've been doing this. Yeah.
And then you went on to college and developed a camp in college.
Yeah. I've always had a soft spot for young people and nurturing young people. And I think I did not have the language for it then, but I do have the language for it now. And when I say like I felt like emotionally unsafe, so I kind of tried to pour into places where I could like make sure that young people were not also having that experience and they felt that the love was available to them, they were worthy of it. I realized that me navigating girlhood, I never had a regulated nervous system. I never felt ease in my body. Like I never felt,
for me.
I don't want to make you sad.
Yeah,
like,
but that's sad for me.
Yeah.
Like, to hear that's a real place.
But I didn't even know that though,
That's
Mom.
what this journey is about.
But I did not know that until recently. Like I just hit a place in my life where I feel ease and I feel calm in my body and I'm able to like experience other senses and different deep levels of awareness that I was never able to do because I was in survival mode. And so yeah, I'm realizing that, I didn't feel emotionally unsafe because we talked a little bit about what the home environment was like. And I never made that connection because oftentimes when we talk about like trauma responses or like our survival responses, right, we all have this internal alarm system that goes off when there is a threat to your survival, there's a danger, right? And we need this internal alarm system, because if it's time to run, we got to be out. If it's time to fight, we got to fight it out. And that's what our bodies, they're really smart. It tells us to do that. But sometimes our alarm system can be going off consistently when there is no threat, and we're constantly living in like this trauma response mode. Yeah, we're in this loop because it's anticipating it, because that has been the experience. And so we talk about like trauma responses oftentimes through the lens of fight, flight, and freeze. But oftentimes we don't talk about it through the lens of fawning. And so I'm just now making this connection around the ways in which I learned fawning essentially at its baseline level is people pleasing. That I learned how to be a people pleaser in order to survive. And I didn't know that I thought my people pleasing was just because I'm just so nice and I didn't want people to feel, uncomfortable. But I'm realizing there is a direct connection to the ways in which I show up, which oftentimes feels like self-betrayal, right?
It does.
Because you betray yourself, you betray your instinct, you betray your inner knowing. But I had to operate that way in order to survive that house. And not only did I have to, like, you taught me how to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I remember specifically this one time there was like a really big blowout. And the details of that is going to come in a later episode. However, I remember you coming to me and you said, just go apologize. And I said, but I didn't do anything wrong. You said, I know, but just go apologize to just keep the peace. And there was this feeling I felt in my body for the very first time. I was like, this feels crazy. And I said, so I have to go say sorry, and you didn't do anything. And I resisted. I remember, because I was kind of like, I'm shy and kind, but I can knuck if you buck. Like, if we...
you stood...
I stood on business.
You stood on business when it came to right and wrong.
Yeah, when it came... I always had a really strong moral compass. Yeah, I stood on business. And so I remember eating dinner and you looked at me like, go do it now. And I'm like, you like, Jasmine, just say sorry, just to keep the peace. And I remember and like just swallowing my pride and being like, I'm sorry. And it was the like most lax, like, yeah, okay. And I was just like, and then I was pissed off because I was like, I mustered up all that energy
for that response,
for a lackluster response, and I didn't even do anything wrong. And so that kind of created a cycle in me that looked like, in order to like keep the peace and to not rock the boat, I learned how to anticipate the needs of others. Like, I feel energy very, very, very subtly. Like, you don't have to say it. I already know what's going on. I can walk into a room, I can pre it out, and I know exactly how to move in order to like to like balance the energy. To
integrate and to balance.
To balance, yeah. And I learned that in girlhood. And so I spent a lot of my life, people pleasing, and a little bit to this day, but not so much, because
you have to catch yourself. But that does go back to something that I said earlier. You know, the lens in which we see things and act on things are definitely come out of our experiences. And whether we admit it or we go back and seek the truth to find the truth of where it initiated from or how that came about, it is a truth. We see it through our experices. So,
can I ask you though, like, why was that? Like, where did that come from for you? Like, why did you have the gumption to
keep the peace?
Yeah, or why did, I don't like, I'm actually like really having a hard time like formulating this question, but like in that moment, you saw that as like the best option.
Solution?
Yeah.
Because by things that you didn't see, I was privy to. So ways that you didn't know about, I had to deal with. And they would get even more volatile, you know? So it would become a screaming match. It would become where we're now talking about it over and over and over and over.
He was obsessive. He wouldn't let it go.
There was never a let go.
Yeah.
And even when you tried to let it go, there was still more and more and more and more until he shifted to something else. So it was really just me shutting him down.
Yeah.
And shutting it down so that we didn't have to continue to listen to it. And no, it wasn't a good practice. but it was the practice that I had done for so long, even prior to you coming on board, right? And it was how I knew to shut it down.
Got you. I get that. So that was a survival mechanism for you.
So it was
too.
a survival, but then again, like I tell people now, you inherently teach your children things not by what you tell them, but it's also by display. So you inherently teach them to be a way or do a thing by the way you show up as well.
Yep.
And because that was my go-to mechanism to shut down disturbances, not forever, but
in that time period, in that season, yeah.
But now that time period ends, and guess what? We're still stuck with
We're
that.
Still
madness.
Operating in that same, same pattern.
Yes,
yeah, it's a learned behavior.
It's a learned behavior.
To some degree,
now.
It can be unconscious until you are doing
the work
to make the connection and understanding like why you show up, how you show up, and why you move through life the way that you move through life. You know what's interesting to me in all of my work that I do with young girls, which kind of inspired a lot of the conversations that you have been having in even this space, is so many of them have things with their mothers. There is this thing with girls and their mothers, and not even young girls, but it's like, when I say young girls, it's like I can see the shift happening in real time. And some of that is just like, yeah, you're moving through girlhood, you're becoming a adolescent, and, you know, just like the human development process of just self-individuation. Like you're trying to come into your own, create your own ideas, create your own peer group, trying to understand life through your own lens that's not solely given to you through the lens of your parents. Like some of it is not always rooted in just like, because conflict isn't always bad. Like conflict.
No, you have to have some of it.
You have to have some of it.
Yes.
But a lot of
healthy conflict and not so healthy.
Yeah, and a lot of what I see in my work is there is this, I don't even know what to call it. It's this thing that exists, this tension with mothers and daughters, which really sparked my interest in wanting to explore that more deeply. And even as an adult and like talking to like friends and talking to acquaintances and then doing therapy with girls, a lot of the work that we do is centered around and rooted in the relationship with the mother and a breakdown in the maternal relationship. So we could just sit with that for a second, take a breath, because I felt that in my body. Do you feel like that was a thing for you?
Yeah, because I had a mom. Shout out to my mom.
She's amazing. Hi, Nani. We love you.
My mom was, paint the picture real fast, at-home mom. You have 5 kids. You know, she was, you know, the cute housewife and take care of the kids.
Yes, and, cute housewife.
You know, all the things. And then one day our world was turned upside down and then there was a divorce. And then now they're like, well, you young enough, because my mom had us all young. You young enough, you need to go get a job. So now we have a mother that's outside of the home. That's gone a lot trying to work to make ends meet because the life that we once knew is not the life that we have no more.
Right.
That life is now done and over with. And, you know, we're struggling, we're striving, you know, all the things. And
trying to strive for struggling.
Yeah, all the things. And she became the mom with grit. Like my mom was always, both my parents, uber smart. Like
Nani's a bad, you know like, what, for sure.
Yeah, uber smart, right? So that wasn't, she's always been started from the bottom, now I'm here. And you got it from the mud, seriously.
Yeah.
And she just was also that one that was like, don't wait on nobody, you get up and do it yourself. She gave us that hard side.
Because she learned the hard way.
So, and because, you know, counseling wasn't a thing and, you know, just pray about it and just be quiet, she didn't get the healing she needed.
She didn't have an outlet. She didn't have a safe space.
She didn't have that. You know what I mean? You know, she went from her parents' home to him. You know, so it was her rediscovery. But she was, for the lack of a better term, you know, she was still angry. So a lot of what we got was angry mom.
And at a point in time, we used to get angry mom.
Yeah.
It was like angry, volatile man, mom who loved us, but also angry. And I remember like just wanting to leave.
Yeah, true story.
Just wanting to leave.
I wanted to leave too.
Girl, we all just wanted to leave. And so in my curiosity around like this thing this breakdown that happens in the maternal relationship, one of these terms continue to come up called a mother wound. And so I'm going to read the definition of a mother wound. This isn't a clinical term just because as a clinician, I feel the need to say that, but I do think it's a really helpful term, like umbrella term to kind of categorize some of the impact that the maternal relationship have on you when you are, in your trauma, right? And so a mother wound is unresolved trauma, known as a mother wound. These are pain, trauma, and this definition is all over the place. Let me take it back a little bit. These are the pain, trauma, and unresolved emotions we might have inherited from our maternal lineage. And that definition is cool, but I also like to think about it through the lens of resistance to, maybe it's not even resistance, but it could be access, it could be inability to addressing your own wounds and unconsciously or consciously passing them down to your children, and the ways in which mothers can cause harm because they don't have the space or the tools or the awareness to tend to their wounds or even knowing what their wounds are. And so now you have these open wounds and you're bleeding over on all of us, right?
Absolutely.
And now it's
a real place.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I've been sitting with the concept of like mother wounds, and then we've been having a lot of conversations around the wounds that you have and then the wounds that I've had and that I've, received through our relationship. And I have like such an interest in like creating spaces specifically for like mothers and daughters to come together to be able to resolve some of that tension, whatever it may be. I'm not I'm not an expert on mother wounds. I don't want to pretend that I am, but I am.
We're exploring this together, and I mean they're legitimate, and and it's because as the mother, you only see the mom functioning in the mom role. Right? And that's my mom. And she's, I mean, I think at some point, and this is not just, across the board, at some point, every teenage girl is like, oh my God, right? Because teenagers want what they want when they want it. And that's just, everything in my world is very important.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything in my world takes precedence.
And they navigating their own things,
and they're navigating their own things.
Yeah.
As the mom is like, everything in my world, girl, I'm trying to keep the lights on. I'm trying to feed you. I'm trying to this. I'm trying to that.
Some people have deeper level wounds that are like rooted in.
I'm talking real baseline.
Okay.
I'm talking real baseline here. So I'm thinking all the other things, I got the violence going on behind the scene. I got all kind of other things, financial issues, crisis. We got all kind of other things going on.
You said you had violence behind the scenes?
I'm just talking
I
was
about to say, who was putting...
Oh, nobody ever laid no hands.
No, because... Okay,
no, ma'am.
Sorry.
No, okay.
I didn't know. I didn't know about that story. Okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
So you just have you could be having all these other things, right? But you see your parent from one dimension.
Yeah.
The parental dimension.
Yep.
Right? You're not seeing them from a humanized dimension. And a lot of times that could be our own faults, because a lot of times what I did was I tried to shield y'all.
Yeah.
And I tried to think like life was perfect.
Yep.
And I tried to paint a picture that everything was well.
But we could feel it. Well, at least I could.
And that's the thing. Like, children can feel things. We got to give them more credit than when households aren't healthy and functioning in a healthy realm. Yeah. Not just the parents feel it.
Yeah.
Right? Children feel it too. And I think we do a disservice by sometimes not being vulnerable.
Not allowing them to see and not navigating hard things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I remember the very day that I became vulnerable with you and Brooke, and I broke that day. And it was like so out of character for me. And this was like way past the first house, way past that. It was the second house.
Ivory.
And I just remember y'all was fighting. I don't even know what y'all two was
I remember that fight. you came in there like, I rebuke this in the name of Jesus, the attack of that. So you was real Christian. You are now, but I mean, talk about say, and I'm just like, but it did feel spiritual. It was just like.
It really was.
It was intense.
All out attack.
Yeah.
On me. And because you didn't get me one way, he was coming another. And that was through y'all.
Yeah,
I was already back up against the wall, trying not to off myself. Right. And then here y'all are.
And I didn't know that. I didn't know that at that moment in time you were struggling.
Struggling.
Yeah.
You know,
and that I knew you were struggling because I knew it was happening, but I didn't know the mental impact. Yeah.
So that is when I was like, I can't be this hidden person. I can't be this one person in front of them and this other person
behind
not
closed
in front
doors.
of them.
Yeah.
You know, because they're getting a false identity of who I am. And I'm painting a real bad picture that I'm handling things well when I was handling things
horribly.
Terribly.
Yep.
Terribly. And it was like eye-opening. It was like, either you're going to operate this way or you're going to show them the real way.
Yeah. You came in that moment. So I don't fully remember it, but I remember you felt safe. Like you was like you, it's like you just knew what to do. Like you came in like with a level of authority. Like this is not how this is about to play out. And honestly, at that moment in time, we were all going through a lot. Considering like you were going through it, but we were also going. We were feeling the impact of all of what you were going through
as well.
What was that?
Heck yeah, because Brooke ended up on punishment for like a whole year after that with her foolishness.
Yeah, it was.
Shout out to Brooke.
Yeah, Bricky Bear. It was a lot. Question for you though: what do you feel? I appreciate that perspective a lot. And I think that's a lot of the reason why I consider you we can say like, oh, we're best friends. Because like you really have allowed me to be a friend to you. I know it's like a little bit of a stigma, like, I ain't one of your little friends, like typical Black mama sayings, but like I'm definitely one. I'm not
definitely one of my friends.
Not little friends.
You're my friend.
Big friend.
But because we did life together.
We did life together. And also, you have, again, been a person who has been willing to take accountability, look in the mirror, and make adjustments as needed, and just admit that I don't always know, and I'm not always going to get this thing right, but it's just that willingness to be able to, like, adjust and course correct, and to be accountable. What is your feeling on the parents who resist that level of accountability when it comes to their children?
That's hard. Honestly, it's you take something from the child because you have to learn. I think in most parents' mind, they do want to be vulnerable, but also sometimes that vulnerability state shows you that I'm not the best right now. And that hurts. And
to say that you're not the best, to admit that you're not the best.
To admit that you're not the best, and I can't give you the best, and I can't be the best, and I'm broken. And you have a broken person. But this is your person. And
this is your person.
But this is your person. And for the little persons or the children to look to the person like, but you're the person that's supposed to be able to take care of this.
Yep.
And sometimes we just don't have that, and it's embarrassing. And sometimes it's failure. No one wants to feel like a failure, right? So I feel like a lot of times we hide and not taking that accountability because we don't want to admit the failure, not openly, even though we may know it in our heart and we may know it in our minds and know it in our bodies because our bodies keeps track of all the things.
But what about the person who like needs that accountability? And I say need, knowing that sometimes you don't always get like what you need. And I guess I'm coming from a place of the parent who's like, oh, but I did my best. Because that's also a very typical thing for people to say, well, I did my best and I did the best with what I had and like, yeah.
Well, what I had to learn in that, and I've given many descriptions in that I did my best. And that's, it's something we try and hide behind because in the moment it makes us feel better, right? It avenges me, right? It gives me some kind of passiveness of like, oh, you did your best.
You did it.
And the truth of the matter is, a lot of times our best is not good enough.
Say that again.
It's our best is not good enough.
Because sometimes we like to say, like, as long as you do your best, but there comes a point in time where your best is not good enough.
Where your best is not good enough. And I say that not trying to demean anyone in their best, right? Because the way that I painted the picture was, I was not the best for them in a lot of different seasons. And I had to own those seasons and the things that was happening because of me. Some of those things I caused, right? And I said that to say, you know, if the bill is, and this is just an example, and I'm just low level on it. If I know the electric is getting cut off and the electric people leaves that sticky note on my door, that yellow packet that they used to bring, because we didn't have a lot of those.
We did.
Yeah, I just hit them. And they tell me that I need to pay $350. And all I can muster up is $200. And I send them that $200. My electric is still getting cut off because I'm past that. I'm at that 10-day window, right? And I call them and I'm like, but I sent you the $200. You could have just took that off. And they're like, we got that. And you still owe $100. You still owe $150. And because there's a deficit that you couldn't make up, we cut your electric off.
Yes.
So although I did my best in getting what I had and could muster up and sent it to them, it still wasn't enough to take care of the issue. And a lot of times we don't do the work to take care of the issues.
Actually, get to the root of the issue.
To get to the root. We're just covering up and doing our best. And not a lot of time we're just saying, make it enough. Off of Fridays. Make it enough.
Make it enough.
Make it enough. He was like, but this is not enough. Make it enough.
Ooh,
right?
That's
so
good.
A lot of times we're just making it enough.
Making it enough.
And it's still not enough.
And what we need to be doing is digging deeper under the surface, and extracting and excavating and getting help and asking for help when you need it.
Asking for help. And sometimes our greatest gift to our children can be our vulnerability. And the fact that we don't have it all together, because sometimes they will end up going into this world thinking life is supposed to be perfect, and the first thing that hits them, they are down.
Shambles,
crumbling. Any kind of conflict, any kind of turmoil.
Anytime of resistance, anytime something don't go their way, they
rejection.
Yes.
And they don't know how to deal.
Can I say something though? Because I feel like trauma can teach us a lot. And not that I encourage people to be traumatized. Like that's not an experience that I would even want for my children. However, in my trauma, I've learned some tools for surviving.
Absolutely.
And some of those have allowed me to be really gritty and scrappy and unafraid. And so like the ways in which some people are not able to like show up and move through life with as much resilience. I've learned resilience, you know?
And trouble comes to make us better if we learn from it. We can have troubles. There's nothing in this life that's going to be perfect.
There's a lesson and connection to everything.
But there is lessons and connections to everything if we allow it.
To be,
If we allow it to do what it is purposed to do when it should be doing it, right?
But some of us sit and we ruminate and
we get stuck and we just make up these false thought processes and cheap fixes, I will say, because I had a lot of cheap fixes, right? Cheater code. I had a lot of cheap fixes that would try to fix it, but in the end, I would still be left with the full load. In the end, I still had the same big problem.
Yep.
Because I fragmented it. Just because I pieced it together little by little, for that moment, didn't solve my issue.
You know what I used to do before you got to a place of awareness and you were taking accountability and you were showing us your vulnerability? When I was a young girl, like journaling was my favorite emotional outlet. Like I love to write in my journal, and I would write like poems because I just also had a feeling that you would be reading my journal trying to get information. So I felt like if I wrote it in a poem, it could be a little bit elusive. I've always been a little bit. I'm like, I don't really want nobody trying to like pin me. So I would write these really
she would.
like these really just like vague poems that were analogies that spoke to like what was happening in my inner world. But I love to journal, like, and to this day, and I'll be honest, my journaling practice could be better now. But when I do journal, I find that that helps. It gives me perspective.
Okay.
It gives me perspective in a lot of different ways. And one of the ways it gives me perspective is like when you go. Do you have journals?
I do.
Do you ever go back and read your journal?
I just did.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. Before I make my point, I want to know like what came up for you when you read your journal, because I'm gonna tell you what come up for me when I read my journal.
Wow, like different things came up for me. Like some promises that was made came up. Like wow, like
that came into fruition or no?
Some and some not. Yeah. So and also like different things that people had told me, and at different seasons in my life. Just the things that I even wrote about situations. And I'm like, wow, some of them was like way, way deep. Some was way, way over spiritualized. Some was,
you was able to go back and connect to exactly where you were in that moment in time.
Absolutely. I could feel the moment. I could see the moment, smell it, taste it. I knew that, like, I could pinpoint exactly what was going on.
That was my point. That's the reason why I love journaling, because it feels like a time travel hack. Like it transports you back into the place that you were in when you were writing the journal entry, and like all of your sensations come back. Like I think about what my room looked like. I think about what albums I was listening to. I'm thinking about what you made for dinner that day. I'm thinking about the emotions that I felt in my body in connection to the thing that I was journaling about. I'm remembering the weather, what it looked like outside. So it's like I'm almost exactly back in that moment that I was in when I wrote it, and I'm able to connect to the emotionality of it. And I'm able to read it from the perspective of a person who's moved past that thing, right? And so now the current version of me is able to hold space and give love and give gratitude and give just all the things that I needed for showing up and moving through that thing, whatever the thing may be. And then it gets even deeper because there's another iteration of me waiting to unfold, right? And so, so if I was to write in my journal today, like, I'm now on a journey to meeting that person anew. And so when I think about it from this perspective, I can't help but to think about like the profundity of God, like how amazing like God is, because I was reading a journal entry and it was a lot of emotions that were coming up for me. And all I could think about is like, wow, like God was with me in that place, holding me and carrying me.
Yep.
And God has met me here in this place. And God is already holding the version of me that has yet to unfold, because whatever it is. Done. Because it's like, and it made me think about time, because like, what is time? And time is not real. And there's so many versions of us coexisting at one time. So if God was there holding me, preparing me, and also in this place holding me and keeping me, then he's already there too, preparing me.
Already.
And then it made me think about like how oftentimes we think about we are praying for God to do a new thing. And there is no new thing to do.
He said it's already done.
It's already done. God is finished.
Because we're living out what he's already called into existence.
But then it made me, I'm always like, and it made me think. If you could tell, all I do is sit around and spiral in thought. Like I'm very cerebral. Like I'm in my head often. But yeah, that made me think it is already done. God is finished. And then when we think about like, we talked about getting stuck on our journeys and kind of being caught in a loop. Like, what if it's not God doing a new thing, but what if it is you doing a new thing? What if it's you making a decision to like get up and move from where you are and not being stuck? And the things that this is not to negate or downplay like the severity and the harshness of some of our lived experiences. They vary across the board. But it's like, what if it's you getting in alignment to be able to meet that version of you that was already destined and has moved through some of the things that feel heavy when we're making a conscious decision to not be on that loop?
That's a real place. Because alignment is necessary. If we don't align, then you're out of line, right? But we do have to find that version. But that takes it takes courage.
It takes so much courage.
It takes vulnerability.
Because there's a level of like comfort and familiarity. Like
Absolutely.
You already know what
it's
that pain feels like. You know what that pains feel like. And so it's like to exchange this pain for a possible new pain. Like, but it's in your in the work that I've been doing in the place that I've been in life, I've been learning a lot about just like surrender. And I used to hear that in church. They used to play that song like, "Oh, I surrender all." I never.
You wasn't trying to surrender.
I'm like, I ain't all.
No.
Because why you want my all? Like, why am I doing that? And I don't think about it through that lens anymore. I think about it as, creating an opportunity for you to just be in the process, for you to not resist the natural ebbs and flows of life, because life is going to ebb and life is going to flow, and sometimes it's going to do both at the same time, right? And I came into this moment of awareness where, I was just like thinking like there was just so much more that I wanted for myself, and then it's like, well, dang, every time I feel like I'm on a journey and it feels a little bit easier, here's a new thing, it's a new lesson, it's a new level of something to integrate. I'm like, well, when do I reach the peak? Like when do I not have to keep fighting this uphill mountain? And then it clicked for me. I was sitting outside on my roof, just looking at the sky, and it clicked. It was like, you've already arrived. There is no arriving. Like, the only thing that we have now is this moment, which is why I say like time is, what is time? Because it's all coexisting. We only have exactly this moment, right?
Because we don't know the next moment.
Because we don't know the next moment. And with that thought process of just like, you have arrived, I realized like, there is no, like whatever this imaginative thing that I am striving for, that thing, maybe it'll come, maybe it won't. I don't know. But all we have is this moment, and to move through life with the sense of like, I have arrived. And how do you arrive? By getting in alignment, by surrendering, by trusting the divine unfolding of your life, by trusting that all things are working together for your highest good, even when it don't feel like it. You can be so present in your process and in your journey because you know God is finished. Because even if you have been blessed.
Know what that takes?
What does it take?
Trust.
Yeah, it takes so much trust, and that's the scary part.
It's the scary part because it takes trust, and it takes what you also just called out. It takes surrender.
It takes surrender.
It takes trust. It takes surrender. It takes transparency. It takes all of those things, and that's hard for a lot of people.
That's so hard. It's hard for me at times
because you got to understand, a lot of us never met our real authentic selves.
Ooh. We've been operating in the representative for a really long time.
We stay in representative mode for a long time because we've learned to people please. We've learned to be masterful in avoiding conflict or dodging or fixing it.
Or being overly fixated on conflict. Yeah. So your first knee-jerk response to things is it's a conflict.
Exactly. So we as a group of people have learned to say, oh, they're just like that. Because I don't want nobody calling me out on my just like that.
So let them be how they gonna be because they just like that. And really, you ain't just like that. It's a learned behavior.
That's not being a good friend. That's not being a good parent. That's not because
being
we're all created in His image. So therefore, I'm good. And things about me are good.
Things about me are good.
So my character and my nature should resemble the same character and nature. They have to be the same. They can't be one different than the other. They're equal. They coexist for a reason. So we have to understand that if we're feeling out of alignment and our nature and our character are not in alignment with who we know we are, or we need to find out who we are.
We got to find out.
We got to do the work. And sometimes that digging is that, baby, listen.
But also, and that's when I say like understanding like there is no arriving, is also honoring. If you mad, you honor your anger is sacred. I had to learn that as a people pleaser. I had to learn that it is okay for me to be mad and say that I am mad. Yes. It is okay for me to be pissed off and to like because sometimes we deny those parts of ourselves in, I guess, because there's this idea that we can only exist this is walking in the light. Like I have to walk in the light, and it's like and also like you are multidimensional, and you get to be all things.
You get to understand that we have emotions for a reason, and that's when emotional intelligence come into place.
Yes.
We have to tap in and learn to be emotional intelligent, and that takes training. That takes understanding. That takes time.
Yep.
That emotional intelligence doesn't say, I never get angry. It says, I know how to separate myself in my anger and process my anger and not affect your day.
Ooh. Yeah.
It says that I do not display that. I don't put that on you because now I don't project it, and I don't want to make it now your issue.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of times what we see is fruit of a thing, not the root.
Not the root
of a thing. And that root is getting to the truth.
Ooh.
And we got to go dig that up. And digging ain't easy.
Digging ain't easy. You need some muscle for that. I have a question for you. And so, just sticking with this idea, like time, like what is that, right? How does this idea allow us to be able to go back and to nurture the parts of us, the previous existence of us, this previous iterations of us that may have been wounded, that may have not received the love and care that we felt like we deserved in that moment. If all the iterations of us are coexisting at one time because God is finished, like there is no, this whole thing is done. It's like I think about that a lot in the context of like inner child healing, and like I don't just have to accept that experience, but there's a lot of love and care that I can go back and give to little Jasmine, and just trust that she will receive it, and that's nourishing me
absolutely
right now in this moment.
Absolutely, I 100% believe that we have to go back to where we feel or know that the breakdown began. We just did ministry with my Sisters Gather. Shout out to Sisters Gather. Our first time was April the 6th. And one of my topic at that time was uncover. And I just was like, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? So I sat in that thing and got a revelation about that thing. In uncovering, it came to me that I had to go back. I was trying to uncover what, when. There's a lot to uncover. I don't have to uncover. I know what happened. But it was like, no, you need to go back where that thing initiated. And you need to take apart, dismantle the lie that was bestowed or given or told or shown or spoken or, whatever, suggested, whatever adjective you want to use and put on it. You have to go back and dismantle that lie about who you are at that time to get to the truth and uncover the truth of who you are now. And a lot of times what we're trying to do is we're trying to fix ourselves in bits and pieces of, if I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go back just to my 25-year-old self, when the breakdown really happened before my 25-year-old self. There was,
she was already wounded.
She was already wounded. She's carrying wounds from 7. That nobody talked about, that nobody, that was hid, that was swept under the rug, that was quiet, because you're serving, the predator or whatever, So I had to go back to, and it was funny because as I went through the box of journals, trying to find the journals, I found an old picture of me.
At 7?
Yes. And it's funny because I don't have hardly any baby pictures of me. My dad, mama said Dad had all the pictures, and he used to be the one with the camera and all of that. So I'm sure he did. And I found this little girl with these pigtails that was pushed out, and and I'm sitting there with my high ruffle shirt. Y'all know I love ruffles. I love ruffles from back in the day.
Yeah, you always been extra. Yes, in the best way possible.
But they made me extra. So anyway, I found that picture, and he said, "That's it." And it's like, you need to go back and deal with her.
Ooh,
because it's her that was the root of the breakdown.
Ooh.
That's where
not her, but the things that happened to her.
The things that happened to her. And they were just compiled issues from her.
Wow.
That was never addressed. And, easily in our culture and our family, girl, pray about it.
Yeah.
Well, go on in this family, stay in it. You just talk, we just, pray about it, and you just move on, and the Lord gonna heal and bless.
And no, and that ain't how God works.
And He never told us not to address those hidden things. He actually told us, all things that are hidden will become known. And we have to address those hidden things that broke us or took us down a painful path that doesn't suit us. We have to dismantle the lie and disrupt patterns that no longer serve who and what we are.
Because when you have trauma, when you are traumatized, you learn a number of tools for survival. We've been talking about that. But then you do hit a point in life where those tools no longer serve you, and you're still using the same tools to build a new life, new foundation.
And they don't work.
And it just don't work. And you're like, well,
why I keep getting this result?
Why nothing work? Baby, your tools that
operating with the wrong thing.
You can release them. And so I like to think about it too from the lens of like, it's not just forgiving and forgetting, right? 'Cause for those who have been caused harm by a parent, caregiver, anyone who's been in position to like take care of you, is you being able to go back to that moment with a new level of awareness, new level of understanding, new tools to be able to support and care and love and pour into that version of you that maybe you didn't have at that moment of time. And it counts for something.
It counts for everything.
It counts for everything.
It really does.
And it can be so simple too. Like one of the things that I love to do when I'm trying to connect with little Jasmine and love on her is I do something as simple as like eat cereal for dinner and like watch cartoons, or like I'll turn on like a movie on Disney Channel, or I used to eat pizza rolls and Hot Pockets with my sister. So maybe I don't really do the pizza rolls and Hot Pockets now because I'm not really into like the heavily preservative foods.
Right.
But maybe I'll like order pizza and like watch a show or jump rope or just like go outside, whatever the thing was that brought you joy. In being able to connect with those sensations, like go do that.
Do that. One of the things that brought me joy, I can remember as a kid when my mom and dad was still in the house, married together, is my dad would sometimes cook breakfast for dinner.
Ooh, I loved when you used to cook breakfast for dinner.
So that was one of my,
yes.
When I would do that and I would go to that, he would cook breakfast for dinner. He made the best breakfast ever. And although it was like pancakes and sausage and eggs and just normal stuff, but it was just so good. So that's like one of my most favorite things ever is,
having breakfast for dinner. And it took you back to Brenner.
Yeah, I called it Brenner, breakfast for dinner.
We gotta have some Brenner.
Yeah, breakfast for dinner. We gotta have
some Brenner. Okay, well, this has been so beautiful, and it just evolved as beautifully as it needed to.
Yeah.
And I'm, as always, grateful for sharing this space with you.
Absolutely.
As we always will close our sessions, because I'm calling it a session because this is therapy.
It's therapy.
This is therapy. We're in community, we're healing, we're addressing the things, and we're getting to it. Oh, you want to go there? We're going there. And so this week's homework or this week's reflection is an invitation for you to do one thing that brought the little version of you joy. No matter how trivial. Jump rope, go for ice cream, color, play, invite in the energy of play in your life. And just see how that feels and see what comes up for you. And so, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to just spending your time with us and listening to us. We really appreciate that.
Listening to us wholeheartedly.
Yes, listening to us wholeheartedly. As always, please like, subscribe, share, rate, and review. If you want to keep up with us and just, follow along for all the things that we have coming, please follow us at Versed Wellness, VERSED Wellness, at Simply Jasmine B on Instagram, and at Create in Me. Wait, that all kind of rhymed. That's cute. We're doing that moving forward.
Okay.
Simply Jasmine B, Create in Me. And we'll see you next time. Until then, take good care. Bye.
Bye.